It's 11 at night, and the thing you were supposed to do today is still sitting there, untouched, staring at you from across the room like it knows something about you that you wish it didn't. You've thought about it all day. You've thought about it so many times that thinking about it has started to feel like the same thing as doing it, except your nervous system knows the difference, and the longer you've put it off, the heavier it has become. Tomorrow morning was supposed to be a fresh start. But you know, in the quiet, honest part of you that doesn't lie, that tomorrow morning is going to feel exactly like this morning felt, and the morning after that, and the one after that. And the thing is going to keep growing in the corner of your life until you finally do it or finally let it die. If that scene just landed somewhere uncomfortable inside you, I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because the story you've been telling yourself about why you do this is almost certainly wrong. And the wrongness of the story is part of what's keeping you stuck. People who procrastinate on things they actually care about are not lazy. That word should be banned from this conversation. Lazy is the easy explanation, the cheap one, the one that makes you feel like a bad person and gives you nothing useful to do with the feeling. Lazy is what people call you when they don't want to look at what's really going on. And what's really going on, in almost every case where someone is putting off something that genuinely matters to them, is much more interesting and much more painful than laziness has ever been. Let me tell you what's actually happening, because once you understand it, you can stop hating yourself for it, and that alone will change more than you think. The first thing you need to know is that procrastination is not a time management problem. If it were a time management problem, calendars and to-do lists and productivity systems would have fixed it for you a long time ago. You have probably tried all of those things. You have probably bought the planner, downloaded the app, tried the technique with the tomato timer, made the list of 3 priorities for the day, and watched yourself ignore every single one of them while feeling worse about yourself with each passing hour. The reason none of those tools fixed you is that they were designed to solve a problem you don't actually have. You don't have a scheduling problem. You have an emotional regulation problem. And until somebody tells you that out loud, you will keep blaming the wrong thing for the wrong reason and never get any closer to relief. Here's what the research has been saying for years now, even though most people have never heard it. Procrastination is not about avoiding work. Procrastination is about avoiding the feelings that the work makes you feel. That's the entire mechanism. The task is just the surface. Underneath the task is a whole emotional landscape that your brain doesn't want to walk into, and putting off the task is your nervous system's way of postponing the walk. When you sit down to start something that matters to you, your body doesn't experience the start as neutral. It experiences the start as exposure. Exposure to the possibility that you'll fail at it. Exposure to the possibility that you'll find out you're not as good at this as you wanted to be. Exposure to the possibility that the thing you've been imagining in your head as being able to do is actually beyond you. Exposure to the possibility that other people will see what you made and not love it the way you needed them to. And your brain, which is wired primarily to keep you safe from emotional injury, treats that exposure the same way it would treat physical danger. It tries to make it stop. And the fastest way to make it stop is to find anything else to do instead. That's why you can sit down to start a project that genuinely matters to you, and 20 minutes later find yourself reorganizing a kitchen drawer you haven't thought about in 3 years. You're not being random. You're not being weak. Your nervous system has identified a smaller, safer task that won't put you at risk of feeling the things the real task would make you feel, and it has redirected you toward it without even consulting your conscious mind. You think you chose the drawer. You didn't. The drawer chose you because it was emotionally cheap, and the real thing was emotionally expensive, and your body went where the cost was lower. This is why willpower doesn't work for chronic procrastinators. Willpower assumes the problem is that you don't want to do the thing badly enough, but you do want to do the thing. That's the entire problem. You want it so much that the possibility of failing at it has become unbearable. People do not procrastinate on things they don't care about. They do those things easily because the stakes are low and the emotional risk is minimal. They procrastinate on the things that matter most. The novel they've always wanted to write, the business they've always wanted to start, the conversation they've always needed to have, the application for the program they've been dreaming about for years. These are the things that get put off the longest, and the reason isn't that you don't care. The reason is that you care too much, and your nervous system has decided that wanting it badly is more dangerous than not having it. That sentence is worth slowing down on. Wanting something badly is more dangerous in the wiring of certain minds than not having it. Because if you don't try, you don't have to find out. You can stay in the comfortable in-between place where the thing is still possible, still hopeful, still untested. The moment you start, the moment you actually put the words on the page or send the email or open the document, you collapse the wave of possibility into a single reality. And that reality might be worse than the dream you are holding. So your nervous system protects the dream by preventing the start. The procrastination isn't about sabotaging the goal. It's about preserving the version of the goal that still has a chance by never letting it meet the daylight where it could be measured. And there's another layer underneath this one. And it's the layer that almost nobody talks about, and it's the one that, when you finally see it, can change your relationship with procrastination forever. A huge percentage of chronic procrastinators are perfectionists in disguise. Not the obvious kind of perfectionist who lines up their pens and rewrites their notes. The hidden kind. The kind that has never told anyone, including themselves, that they're a perfectionist because their life looks too messy on the outside to fit the stereotype. Their desk is chaos. Their inbox is a graveyard. They can't seem to finish anything. So how could they be perfectionists? But that's exactly what makes the disguise so effective. Their procrastination is the perfectionism. The chaos on the outside is the residue of an impossible standard on the inside. They cannot start the thing because they cannot start it perfectly. They cannot finish the thing because they cannot finish it perfectly. The standard they're holding themselves to is so high that no actual attempt could ever meet it, so they protect themselves from the disappointment of falling short by never quite letting themselves fully begin. If that just described you, I want you to sit with it because the recognition itself is part of the medicine. You are not failing at productivity. You are succeeding in a tragic and creative way at protecting yourself from a kind of inner cruelty you have been carrying since you were young. Somewhere along the way, somebody taught you that doing things imperfectly was worse than not doing them at all. Maybe a parent, maybe a teacher, maybe a culture that only celebrated excellence and quietly ignored effort. Maybe you watched somebody you loved get praised only when they were the best, and you internalized the lesson that being less than the best was a kind of shame you couldn't survive. So you stopped letting yourself try things you couldn't guarantee winning. And procrastination became the strategy. Because if you never start, you never lose. If you never finish, you can always tell yourself the thing would have been amazing if only you'd had more time, more energy, more focus, more whatever. The unstarted version of the thing is always perfect. The started version is fragile. The finished version is judged. So you keep the thing in the unstarted state forever, and you call yourself lazy when what you've actually been doing is protecting a wound that nobody ever helped you heal. There's also the matter of what happens to you emotionally when the deadline gets close enough that adrenaline finally overrides the avoidance, which is the part of the cycle that confuses people the most. You spent 3 weeks doing nothing. Then in the last 12 hours, you somehow produced the entire thing in a frenzy, and it was actually pretty good. And the experience of pulling it off taught your brain a very dangerous lesson. The lesson was that you do your best work under pressure. You don't. You did acceptable work under pressure because the alternative was catastrophic failure, and the part of your brain that was scared of failing at the start finally got overruled by the part that was even more scared of not turning anything in. That's not a productivity strategy. That's a panic response dressed up as a personality trait. And it costs you something every single time, even when nobody else can see it. Because the version of the thing you produced in 12 hours is not the version you would have produced if you had been able to work on it calmly for 3 weeks. The version that lives in your imagination, the one you've been carrying around as a possibility, never got to exist. What got handed in was a draft that your future self will always quietly know was less than it could have been. And that quiet knowing accumulates. Project after project, deadline after deadline, you collect a small private museum of things you almost made and didn't quite, and you start to lose faith in your own capacity to be the person you are imagining yourself to be. This is the hidden grief of chronic procrastination, and it's one of the most painful feelings a human being can carry because it's a grief that has no visible cause. You can't point to anything that died. You can only feel the slow ache of unrealized potential, and you can only carry the suspicion that the version of you who was supposed to be living your life has been waiting somewhere in another room for years now, wondering when you're finally going to come and let her out. Now, I want to tell you something important, because if I leave you here, it would be cruel. The way out of this is not the way you think it is. The way out is not to try harder. Trying harder is what got you stuck. The way out is not to find the right system. Systems are tools, and tools don't help when the problem isn't a missing tool. The way out is something much smaller and much stranger and much more counterintuitive. And it has to do with finally being kind to the part of yourself that is afraid. Here's the strange truth that people who finally break out of the procrastination loop almost always discover. The avoidance gets weaker the moment you stop fighting it. As long as you treat procrastination as an enemy to defeat, you stay locked in a war with yourself, and the war takes more energy than the work would have. But the moment you turn toward the avoidance with curiosity instead of contempt, something starts to soften. You start asking the avoidance what it's protecting you from. You start treating the part of you that won't start as if it has a reason, because it does. You start asking, gently, what would happen if I let myself do this badly? What would happen if I let the first version be ugly? What would happen if I made a deal with the perfectionist part of me that this doesn't have to be the final draft? This just has to be the embarrassing first attempt that nobody will ever see. And as you ask those questions, the threat level inside your nervous system starts to come down. The exposure starts to feel less catastrophic. The first sentence finally gets written badly, and the sky doesn't fall. And then the second one, and then the third, and before you know it, you've done the thing you've been avoiding for months, and the experience taught you something that no productivity book ever could. It taught you that the door wasn't locked, it was just heavy. And the only thing that had been keeping you on the wrong side of it was a fear that lost all its power the moment you stopped pretending it wasn't there. The other thing that people who break out of this discover is that the goal was never to become someone who never procrastinates. That's a fantasy, and chasing it is just another way of being a perfectionist about your own healing. The goal is to become someone who procrastinates less and who, when they do procrastinate, doesn't drown themselves in shame about it. Because the shame is what makes the cycle compound. You put something off, you feel terrible about putting it off. The terrible feeling makes the task even harder to face. And the next time you try to start, the task is now carrying not only its original difficulty, but also all the accumulated weight of your self-loathing. Subtract the self-loathing, and the task becomes manageable again. Not easy, manageable. And manageable is enough. If you have spent years calling yourself lazy for something that was never laziness, I want you to consider letting that word go tonight. Not because you're letting yourself off the hook. Because the hook was never the right shape for what you were dealing with. You were never lazy. You were scared of caring about something this much and finding out it was not safe to want it. You were protecting a tender part of yourself that nobody else could see. You were doing the only thing your nervous system knew how to do, with a level of want it had never been taught how to hold. And the work of the rest of your life is not to crush that part of you into submission. The work is to slowly, patiently, kindly teach that part of you that wanting something does not have to be dangerous, that trying does not have to be punished, that finishing imperfectly is not the same as failing, that you are allowed to make things that are smaller and rougher than you imagined them, and you are allowed to make them anyway, and you are allowed to be proud of them anyway, because the version of you who actually shows up is always more real than the version of you who only ever existed in the dream of starting. The thing you've been putting off has been waiting for you. It hasn't gone anywhere. And it isn't asking you to be perfect. It's just asking you to begin, badly, in the next 10 minutes, with the part of you that has been afraid to want it out loud. That's all it ever needed. That's all it was ever going to need.